Hey guys, welcome back to another Lore Olympus video. I am super excited to be talking about this one because this one is a little bit more on, a different perspective. But anyways, guys, before I begin this video, please hit that subscribe button and comment down below of what kind of missed potential do you think Artemis's character has? Anyways, onto the video. Wait, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Dazzling Kate, and I talk about all things nerdy, comic related, webtoon related. I dive into mostly a lot of pop culture stuff. But anyways, today's video is Artemis is missed potential. Now, there's one thing I hate about Lore Olympus is that a lot of the characters who are interesting or show elements of being interesting don't get as much attention as they should be. They're instead swept underneath the rug and never talked about again, or some subject matter that just doesn't get explored because it's all about Hades and Persephone. I know a lot of people hate me for talking about, oh, Persephone is a Mary Sue. Oh, Hades is not as good as, as he looks. He has a lot of flaws and nobody's talking about how that's a problem. Like the problems that Hades has. But today's video we're diving into Artemis's missed potential and how her character has been sort of insulted. Like this character, which at the beginning I may have not given a shit about, but over time I've just I want to understand these characters. I want to get a perspective on who they are. What do they do? And how does, Rachel follow suit with all these interesting Greek mythology stories? And then there's lack of reason as to why Artemis dislikes Hades. Like out of all the freaking gods, I'm kind of confused about that because in Greek mythology there isn't much about the two having any connections. It's just that Artemis just hates Hades. Why? Why does Artemis hate Hades? It seems like, you know, like I don't know, it just seems like in the first episode you've noticed that Artemis kind of has a soft spot for Zeus, even though she claims to dislike Zeus and was willing to key their cars in a later episode. It just, she's chill, calm when talking to Zeus. But then, later she's just like, I'm gonna go key their cars. And it's like, who exactly is Artemis precisely? It feels like she's just a cartoonish version. And I get this is a comic, this is supposed to be funny, this is supposed to have, all these moments of, comedy, drama, romance. That's the whole point of the series. But it just feels so awkward to know that a big Greek goddess like Artemis is just treated like I don't know how to say it exactly. It just feels like she's not really respected in the way that she should be. But anyways, let's talk about how like the connection between Artemis and Hades for a minute. Now this doesn't make much sense to me as Hades does not interact with a lot of gods and goddesses unless they're in his realm, unless they're connected to, the underworld. Then yeah, I get where it's going. But Artemis has nothing to do with Hades. They have no Greek mythology stories together, and I mean there's a lack of it. I'm sure there's some kind of story, but I've never been able to encounter anything that would result in Artemis being pissed off with Hades. Now let's look at what would have been a interesting element to explore why she would dislike Hades. Now this is a little different, the kidnapping of Persephone. There I would see Artemis being, kind of annoyed that, Persephone is not with her. And it's like, because in the story, Hades steals Persephone, and Demeter is saddened and angered by it. And there's like this whole situation, and I'm probably not making sense. I'm trying to dumb it down a bit because some people might like be like, "Oh well, blah blah blah." I don't get it. I know, I know. But in short summary, and now Artemis is not included in this mythology, but she could be if written correctly into the Lore Olympus type of version of the kidnapping of a Persephone. It's there she would have an actual reason to be pissed with Hades. In the beginning, it's like she just hates Hades. Why? Explain. Where's the context of why she dislikes Hades? There's no information about that other than like rumors here and there, and even then I feel like I don't know, it feels like Artemis would take kind of like a different perspective from this, like looking at it without listening to everyone spreading rumors. She seems to be having her own judge of character. Okay, there is a lot more I have to like go through on this list. I'm sorry if I sound like disorganized right now. It's mostly because I'm sick and it's annoying and it's been draining. But yeah, another few reasons why I feel like Artemis's missed potential is mostly because it seems like every time we're given any information on her character throughout the seasons, like you do see her hanging out with Eros, or you see her hanging out with Apollo, and yeah, there are questions she brings up to them, but they never really answer them. And I know it's her own. She has to discover what happened to Persephone on her own, but then again, it's kind of confusing as to why, like, you know, why didn't Persephone share what happened to her with Artemis, or at least express that she doesn't feel that comfortable. Like, she isn't really liking the double standards, and make Artemis realize, oh, yeah, that doesn't seem fair from that perspective. Instead, Artemis just comes off as this annoying, ultra feminist type. And yeah, she is a very perfect feminist icon, but it's also like you don't want to push it in this way where she comes off as one of those internet type of feminists that you see that's always accusing people of being this, or always trying to like make people feel sorry. Like, no, Artemis doesn't make people feel sorry for her, but it just feels really comedic that she's acting like this internet like meme, and nobody's really saying that a lot. And I mostly mean when she gets annoyed with male characters, and she just like gets all cartoonish and pissed off, and there's no reason for it. There's you know absolutely no reason to act this bad. And I know in her own Greek mythology stories she has been expressive about how she feels about some people. In how she doesn't like some men. Yes, I get it. But that doesn't really excuse her to be this cartoonish, annoying feminist type. Like, I know a lot of people know what kind of feminist type I'm talking about. You guys know which one I'm talking about. It's one of those whiny, oh, like, stay away from her, you like, assault her, that kind of. They always are quick to assume, and I don't think that's a good thing to show off for your character. Like I said before, there is a lot of Greek mythology centered around her that is definitely strange and intriguing. I'm not going to go into too much information there. But to make her seem like this, like, joke, like, that's what I feel about Artemis's character in Lore Olympus, is that it feels like a joke. She's no one look She doesn't feel like someone you can look up to, and I feel like among the gods and goddesses, she is someone, you can look up to. Like, it's kind of strange if you really think about it. Everyone like everyone in Olympus loves Apollo. but they don't seem to like Artemis that well. Does that make sense? Like, Apollo's this big, great guy, and then meanwhile, Artemis is just that annoying little sister type that nobody really wants to hang out with because then, it's just annoying. I hope that makes sense. Like, I don't know why it wouldn't make sense. Oh my goodness. And you know what's weird, guys? Like, this is one weird factor about Artemis's character in Lore Olympus, and it kind of shows in the early season one. Like, if you remember how Persephone was placed into Hades' car, and later on blaming Hades for it, yet you know who did it? Aphrodite. 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 Man, let me just rephrase that. Like, give me a minute. uh, Aphrodite. Okay, Aphrodite. Okay, I think I get it. But like, they're both characters in Greek mythology that couldn't stand each other. And it's like, why didn't she go after Aphrodite? That's the part that confuses me. They're on the complete opposite ends of the same spectrum. And it's like, they're not gonna talk about that specific relationship. They're like, dramatic relationship that just is there that nobody wants to talk about, even though it would make interesting material to focus on that. I mean, Hades went after Aphrodite because, he knew it was her, but Artemis doesn't. It doesn't add up. It really doesn't make sense. You have two characters who dislike each other, but you don't have them interact. Yeah, Artemis interacts with her son Eros and, eventually accepts him, but it's so freaking weird that it's like, we're just gonna pass this relationship by. We're not even gonna talk about it. We're not even gonna touch it. And it's so confusing. Like, but they're. Why? Why would you ignore that? It doesn't add anything to it. It's like, oh my goodness. But yeah, it's definitely something we won't be able to see because I'm sure Rachel just doesn't want to touch on it. And I think there was like a couple of other things that over time just get ignored, like Artemis's love life. That, at one point she had a connection to a hunter by the name Aaron? Oren? Oren? Probably not even saying that name right. And, there's several different versions of the story, mostly the Scorpion and Gaia, and then there was like Apollo, which we don't get to touch on that because eh, eh, it doesn't make any sense, it's kind of odd that there's so many stories they could use to explain why Artemis dislikes, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. I think like, I think Poseidon would probably be a tolerable character to Artemis, considering he did, in some versions of the story of the birth of Apollo and Artemis, he did guide them to an island where, Leto could give birth at. So I would kind of see that connection making sense. And then, disliking her father to some extent. I don't get the hate for Hades though. It's like after, like if it was after the kidnapping of Persephone, then fine. But it's just like, what the fudge? It really doesn't make much sense. But of course, we're not going to get any information about, oh, well, this is why Artemis dislikes Hades. That's not going to be explored at all. It's just like, angry feminist types of rage. Or, cartoonish annoyances in the story. And again, I know this is supposed to be a comic based off of drama, comedy, and romance, but it feels like a joke that some of the characters are just taken with a grain of salt. Uh, it, it's just like, what the hell? I may not be the biggest person who knows Greek mythology. I know very basic stuff, sort of, but I'm sure I'm sure a couple of people will comment down below on specifics as to why Artemis is the way she is. And I know that Artemis isn't perfect. I mean, there's been like a couple of Greek mythology stories that focused on like her turning men into deer or women. So I kind of get that she's like, very short tempered and it does show. But you gotta give a reason for it. Like, every time you see Artemis, she's either pissed off with, everyone or nobody. But she's still pissed off, you get what I mean? But anyways, guys, that's all I have for today's video. I don't really have much else going on. Which, again, I know, short video. But I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. What are your guys' thoughts on this whole situation with Artemis? Do you think she has missed potential in Lore Olympus? Yeah, I think she does. But yeah, there will be another video focused on Apollo, but I'm still working on getting that, done. It's taken a while. And hopefully you guys enjoyed my video for today. So take that time to subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and like the video. And I will see you. Wait. Stay safe, stay cool, or warm if it's getting super cold where you're at, and stay hydrated. This is Dazzling Kate signing the heck out of here.